analysis, if there's a Westerner, if there's an American, if there's somebody definitely from Washington listening to this line of analysis of yours, the first thing that would come to his or her mind is, see, the Pakistanis are definitely supporting the Taliban. I mean, when you say that other regional players are becoming slowly and gradually sympathetic to Taliban and to that objective, the common objective, does that include us, the Pakistanis?
See, Pakistanis have sent a feeler in this Kabul Jirga. We have still not initiated physically the process which Pakistan have indicated should be started. We have not initiated talks with Taliban, even though our Foreign Affairs Committee, I mean, just today probably, asked NATO to start a dialogue and peace process with the Taliban instead of purely a military solution. But NATO, you see, is not designed for political processes. It's intrinsically a military force. It cannot conduct political process or a peace process or dialogue or talks. They are doing talks at the local level, just asking Taliban not to beat us up, but they cannot start a political process.
It's the Americans, frankly.
It's the Americans, frankly. So, but again, you see, now I'm coming to the regional dynamics of the things. If Pakistan starts to take this initiative, how would this influence the American interest in this entire region, and how would the Americans react to Pakistan? This is the question that we need to ask.
How can we even begin to think about this when we have a messy domestic political situation? I mean, our politics always bring us down, and they're doing it right now. If we're going to take a tough stance on a major foreign policy issue like this one, we need to have our own house in order, the internal one.
You see, in terms of external security,
let's be fair.
I agree with you.
No, let's be straight here, Zed. I mean, there are people who are working very hard right now to destabilize the current Pakistani government, the administration of President Musharraf.
You see, Ahmed, one thing you need to understand is that I feel that whatever government comes in Islamabad, whether it is the present government or after the election any other government comes into play, now the realities have changed. The realities have changed to that extent that now Pakistan will have to make a strategic shift, deciding whether it wants to get into a collective security arrangement with the SCO, or Pakistan wants to remain in the NATO alliance, which Pakistan is already a non-NATO member of the alliance. Now,
you're making it sound like as if we have just two choices. We have to choose between either America or China. You're making it sound like that.
You see, this is your point, that a weak government in Islamabad cannot stand on its own 2 feet. It will have to come into a collective security arrangement. This is the trend. The EU is getting together. The Americans are getting together. Even the Russians or Chinese are getting together because they're not standing together alone on their own 2 feet. Pakistan is no exception. If we want to take, it's not a unipolar world anymore. It's a world in which a new strategic shift has taken place. Now Russians and Chinese are exerting themselves in the Eurasian, Asian and Middle Eastern regions. Where do Pakistan go from here? See, I try to understand. The American objective in the Middle East and Eurasia consists of 6 points. If you understand those 6 points, everything that is happening
briefly,
in this
the
region,
6 points, briefly,
now,
yeah.
The most important and critical point which the Americans are doing in the Middle East is defense and protection of Israel. That is the point 1. No compromise on that for them. That means any regime or state which is Muslim state which is a threat to Israel will be eliminated. Any Muslim state having nuclear weapons will be eliminated simply because nuclear weapons can pose a threat to Israel. That's why you find Iraqi nuclear reactors taken out, Iran, and then ultimately will come to Pakistan also. That's the first point. Second is the control and demolishing of the political Islamic movements. You see, democracy is good for them, for the Western world, as long as it does not throw up Muslim forces. If Hamas comes to power through a democratic process, it has to be finished. If FIS comes into Algeria through a democratic process, it has to be destroyed. If democratic process throws up Ahmadinejad, he has to be thrown up. If democratic process, if a popular movement in Afghanistan comes up and takes over political Islam, the concept of political Islam comes up, it has to be destroyed. So political Islam is a dangerous ideological concept, because when communism was destroyed, there was no ideological threat to West, to the new concept.
And now it's this one.
And now it's the Islam.
Let's come to the third point.
The third point is the control of global fuel assets. They also fall within the Muslim lands. The fourth is very interesting point. The control of global waterways and trading routes. You see, very interestingly, which hardly anybody mentions, is the global trading routes, the sea lanes, every sea lane fall within the Muslim lands. Start from Gibraltar. Gibraltar fall within the Muslim lands, Bosphorus, Suez, Horn of Africa, Gulf and Malacca Straits.
Yeah.
All these if any Muslim country blocks these waterways, remember in 50s, Britain
Suez,
attacked Egypt just to keep the Suez
There was
open.
a whole war.
It was a whole war on that. And Egypt tried to use that leverage for it. So this is a threat they can't afford. That is why Britain still maintains presence in Gibraltar, despite the fact that whole area belongs to Spain.
Okay, I want
And the fifth point is encirclement of Russia, and the sixth point is encirclement of China.
Russia and China.
So 4 are within the Muslim world,
and
and
two
the 2 are on the
Russia and China.
Russia and China. Now these are the grand strategic objectives of the US foreign policy for the 21st
That's a
century.
great analysis. Zaid,
Yeah,
the Indians. Where does India come in this? Let's begin with the Afghanistan thing. I have a question actually. Right after this segment, when it's over, I'm going to read one of the emails from one of our viewers, and she asked this question. That she was surprised to see Mr. Abdullah, the former foreign minister of Afghanistan, there. She writes in her email, I'm going to read it afterwards, and she says he left after he was removed from his post as the foreign minister. He left for India. He left to live in it, according to one of the media reports. I'm not sure about this. I haven't confirmed it. But now, suddenly he's back. Now, everybody knows that he was not at very good terms with Pakistan, to say it nicely, to put it nicely. And suddenly he's there. He's also not Pashtun. This was a Jirga representing Pashtun tribes.
One of his parents is Pashtun, actually.
One of his good.
Parents.
Explain to me and to the viewers, really, the dynamic of India in Afghanistan and this whole Jirga thing and all.
I'll keep Abdullah out of it because
That's a very personal thing.
it's a very personal thing. But
we have the last 3 minutes. You have to hurry up.
okay,
Yeah.
you see, about India, it is a known fact that Taliban were a hostile government to India. They never allowed Indian presence in Afghanistan. They never allowed insurgencies into Pakistan. They never raised the issue of Durand Line, and they never created problem for Pakistan from that side. Now with the Northern Alliance government, India has got a dream environment where they are doing for the last so many years. You have the problem of BLA, the insurgencies and the bomb blast and the terrorism campaign into Pakistan, low intensity conflicts, everything coming from India from that side. So it's very obvious that India would be extremely upset over these proposals and the new developments that are happening in this region. And how India responds, but India at the same time do not want a direct confrontation with Pakistan. And in fact, as we have said it earlier also, they want Americans to beat us up. So the Indian strategy is basically not on doing things directly against Pakistan, but convincing the Americans to raise the issue of terrorism, raise the issue of nuclear proliferation, to raise the issue of threat to Israel, to raise the issue of Pakistan destabilizing the region or joining the China camp, to make Americans panic and do something against Pakistan, which would destabilize not just Pakistan but the region and benefit Indians. Indian game is not direct against Pakistan from the eastern side, but from the western side they are waging a low intensity conflict. At the global level they are using their diplomatic clout to force the Americans.
Low intensity conflict, you're referring to what exactly?
Low intensity conflicts, you see, in a nuclear age the focus nowadays is on the low intensity conflict.
True.
Low intensity conflict is supporting insurgencies, terrorism campaigns.
So you're saying they're supporting insurgency. You're referring to
It is absolutely beyond doubt that the Balochistan insurgency and the major elements of insurgencies into Pashtun subnationalists and various elements into the tribal areas also are getting direct support from Afghanistan with the backing of the Indians on this.
Okay, we're out of time.